Okay, I'm gonna put on a little intro. You might recognize these people, and I'm gonna let it play for a little bit while I share and allow people time to come in. We are live on Facebook.
Fearless we fly, gratitude and gratitude and gratitude we rise, expanding far and wide. Our love, our love, our love is going deeper.
So in this song, you're going to hear some words you may not understand or may have before. It's a mantra, which is a prayer. It's a song. This is a mantra to a Hindu god, a deity named Ganesha. Ganesha is the elephant god. You might have seen that before. And the mantra goes, Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Ganesha is the Lord of new beginnings, the destroyer of obstacles. So what we're doing is we're praying to the God within to destroy any obstacles to our good and opening the doors to new beginnings. And you'll also hear these words in English: fearless we fly, in gratitude we rise, expanding far and wide, our love is growing deeper. So let's fly.
And if you guys have to get out of your chairs, that's okay too, right? Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Om Gam
Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Fearless we fly, in gratitude we rise, expanding far and wide, our love is growing deeper. Fearless we fly, in gratitude we rise, expanding far and wide, our love is growing deeper. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Fearless we fly, in gratitude we rise,
Expanding far and wide, our love is growing deeper.
fearless we fly, in gratitude we rise, expanding far and wide.
Our love is growing deeper. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Oh, oh,
Om Ganapataye Namaha. Om Ganapataye Namaha. Om Ganapataye Namaha. Fearless we fly, in gratitude we rise, expanding far and wide.
our love is growing deeper.
Fearless we fly, in gratitude we rise, expanding far and wide.
Our love is growing
Deeper. Om Gam
Let me hear you guys. Om Gam Gana. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Om Gam Ganapataye
Namaha.
Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha.
Man, that's some powerful music right there. The powers of love. Let's get them up here and see what's happening on the front line of the apocalypse with Heather Grace and Jason Michael. Powers of love. Let's see here. Let me just get.
We're here. We're
Hey.
live.
What's happening? What's going
Hi.
on?
Oh my gosh, it's been forever and no time.
I know it has. We just saw each other in September, I think, or August or
Yeah.
September in Ventura
Yeah.
Beach. Yeah,
And
Cycles ago, right?
how fun it was too.
I
Yeah, it
know.
feels
And
like
then 1 year ago yesterday, um, we did a show together. First show we ever did together. Yeah.
yep, it's
So
amazing.
there seems to
March.
be some kind of cyclical aspect to this whole thing. Like
Totally.
I notice it with the Facebook memories of the day. They come up and I'm like looking at them, and especially with Morgan's intel. Morgan will put those posts up, and then it'll be like a year or two old, and it'll be like so applicable to what's happening right now. So it's an interesting part of what's going on. So
Yeah, and I don't know about you, brother, but I've noticed it's 11:11 our time
Yeah,
right now. We just
11:11.
want a presence. The 11:11 gateway. Here we be.
Oh my gosh.
You know that
yeah.
we know we move in this spiral. We're moving in this spiral energy. It doesn't move in a straight line ever.
Mhm.
It moves in this spiral, and we just find ourselves up just a little revolutions, and just we're at the same point. We could draw it down and see the spiral. We're kind of right there, but we're just a little bit more expanded
Yeah.
in our awareness and a little lighter in our
Yeah, a
whatever
little less triggered.
maybe hopefully less karma.
A little more visionary.
Little less. Yeah. But well, you know what? I think we are getting a little less triggered. We're still getting triggered, but from what I can pick up on in my own experience as well, it seems like we're on top of it. Like it's given to us or put before us, and then we are able to recognize it, accept it, not damn it or judge it, and then process it, and then the elevation comes really quick. It seems like compared to a year ago or 2 years ago.
Totally. Definitely comes quicker. It's you do recognize it, but it's funny, you can kind of see how deeply embedded in the body or in the cells the memories of certain triggers are, just for just cellular sensations, and that fight or flight mode can come in so quickly.
Yeah, I know.
Cortisol
we've been
floods the body.
yeah, I know. It's like the body is front and center now, isn't it? I mean,
Totally.
it's like the body is no longer just a physical organism. It's a Merkaba. I mean, it's like an organic Merkaba, some kind of fusion between the physical and the non-physical. I mean, everybody's talking about how their bodies are speaking to them.
Yeah.
And then like we just got through watching the Tutors, because we do the kind of like try to process stuff sometimes, take the mind out of it and just watch a show, but it always seems to have a message, like the Outlander series, and I forget we watched Game of Thrones, but so we watched the Tutors, and it's like, we're getting like, I think there's 4 seasons, like into the 3rd season. I'm like, man, what are we watching here? Like it's all about greed and lust, and then Morgan's like, I think this is what we're clearing. I think this is all in our DNA, and it's being collectively dissolved, and it's a bit painstaking. And a lot of people have talked about, of course, it's always for the individual, but that there's been a real collective aspect to it. I don't know. Have you guys been experiencing that type of stuff?
Clearing
Yeah.
specifically, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the aspect of seeing the reflections.
Yeah,
Totally.
Yeah, what are we watching these days?
Oh my gosh.
That we're clearing, that we're seeing.
Definitely Game of Thrones has been one for sure.
That's not what you're not watching. You watched that once. That's a Jason Michaels show.
There's to me, I mean, we'll watch and I'll come in, but there's some of it that's like, it's overwhelming now. I think the more sensitive the system gets, or the more is clear and open, there's certain things that just don't, it feels like, oh, it's too much for the system.
Yeah.
But
well,
every movie feels like it's like, hello, this is where we are.
Yeah. Or where we've been, or what needs to go. So, I mean, I guess part of the trigger thing is so we can reprogram our response or reaction to the triggers.
Yeah.
And of course, having a partner, has I mean, it's all good, but I mean, there's certain aspects of it, that I think maybe have gotten a little bit distorted with the whole twin flame
Mm-hmm.
connotation. But there is a fairy tale, wow, kind of wow, we're moving to higher ground. Then there's that other part where you're looking at a mirror so close to you, you know, it's like,
Why won't you change? Why won't you change? Yeah, we were listening. One of our favorite teachers is, lovingly Baba Ram Dass.
Yes.
Ram Dass is such a presence, and since he passed and transitioned into this other realm on 12/22, we were in the middle of a satsang, doing chants and actually leading a chant of what's known as the Diamond Heart Sutra, Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva. That really translates that I'm leading, going beyond the shore of the known, and going into the unknown, beyond, where we are collectively being invited to, right? But he said something in an interview just recently about the relationship, the marriage, whether you're in an official contractual marriage, whatever, we're not here to sell that or push that away, but you're in a partnership. Mm-hmm. It is a fierce path.
Yeah.
It is not, and you're not less than or greater than because you have it. But it requires some fierce evaluation consistently. Mm-hmm. And it is a fiery path. And we say often, man, our home address, it's not even our second address. Our home address is the cauldron that we sit in the fires of pure divine love. Mm-hmm. And we can see quickly where that's not being reflected.
Yeah, quicker and quicker. It's really interesting. We, the twin flame thing seems like it's really being brought to light, kind of the myth around it or the distortion of it. And it feels like the more people are becoming aware that they are their twin flame, they are their own beloved, that it becomes easier and easier to dance in that space together. And that if this particular sharing that Ram Dass was speaking about was, we come into relationship to dissolve the barriers between the two of us and to come into our oneness, to learn how to dance as two. And the paradox of that, and that just spoke so deeply to our hearts, because it's like the lag time, the downtime between when we feel like we're still in our separation is shorter and shorter. Mm-hmm. And it does less and less, emotional dragging as it used to. It's like, okay, we see what's going on and you still have the reaction, but you can presence it and move quicker. And it's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I can relate to that because, of course, we clasp our hands every night when we lay down, and sometimes we don't say anything. Sometimes she'll pull in the information, like 99% of the time it's her doing the talking. I might ask a question or I might get something here and there, but a lot of times when it's quiet, she'll tell me the next day, because we don't really review it till the next day, and she'll say, I was getting this. I said, what'd you get last night? And she's like, well, I was getting a whole bunch of stuff, and I thought, do I need to tell him? And then she'll hear, there's only you, or she'll hear he's getting it, and I actually get the same thing. I'll have a thought and it leads me to, well, there's only you. So it is a paradox. It's a strange paradox, because it's like, it doesn't make sense in the 3D or the linear, because in the 3D or the linear, everything's so, there's a singularity to, oneness, my own, I'm everything. And then she's me, but she's got her own thing. And then there's a third one, which is us. So it's like, it's somehow or another all connected. I guess that's the Trinity. I don't know, but yeah, it's so, I struggle with that sometimes, because I'm like, okay, is it just me? But then it's us. But it's like, what? So
yeah, what's mine, what's hers, and what's us? I don't know. Yeah. I mean, here we are. We were talking about it this morning with presencing. I love that you opened up. First of all, a couple of things. Thank you for opening up with Ganesha, bringing that energy of that Sanskrit mantra, which we're just speaking into this field, that this trinity of you with you, Todd, is potent and powerful right here and right now. And what we're calling in for, and what we've invoked in the space, is to clear the obstacles to our good in relationship with each other, in our communities, with our own presence. We're clearing the obstructions and the illusions of veils between that, and also that we're on the front line of the apocalypse. You know, here we are, you know, that, you know, we have friends of ours, you know, to bring up this interesting opportunity for humanity to rise above the illusion of disease and death.
Yeah.
And there's this fear of this CV, we'll just call it, of running rampant. And it's, you know, you can be elevated and say, it doesn't affect me, and to a level that is true. And then to a level there, you may not be able to travel as easily today. You may not be able to do the things. You might run into people who don't want to touch your hands, you know, you know, whatever's going on, we are affected to the level of that in reality. But here we are in this us collective soup and dancing around it and going, where can we stand in our center? You know, I had a dream this morning. You know, the symbology was the Hawaiian flip-flop, the slipper, they call it in Hawaiian, right? What does the slipper want to say to us today? In the middle of the chaos, be carefree, aloha. We're good. In the middle of it all, you know, we know that we volunteered to be here in this now timeline, to hold ground, to hold steady in the middle of this apocalyptic moment.
Yeah, that's a good description. Yeah, because like, it's obviously we get exposed to new shadow, all of us, that we didn't see before, because we expand. So we expand and then we have a higher view. Oh my God, that's there and that's there. And then that, what you said, or the energy or the frequency of what you were saying, you know, it's like there's moments of you come back to when you're in connection, and it's like, hey, everything's fine. No red pill, no blue pill. It's just a chill pill, you know, so everything's cool. And I think of, you know, on different occasions, you know, in our mind as we connect, we've never actually said it together, you know, aloud, but it'd be like, you know, on the sacred sexual path, you know, we're like, you know, what's going on, or when's are we going to go back to, like, you know, we ever going to do this or that? And it'll just be laughing, you know, like, hey, you guys, you don't have anything to worry about. It's coming, and like in ways you can't even imagine. But I'm not saying it because of that example. I'm just saying in the spirit of it, because it could be many other things, like, you know, why don't I have abundance at this moment, or what am I doing? You know, and it's just like, hey, you know what, you're on the right track. And I think that's one of the things I wanted to ask you about too. One of the things that you know, is an advantage, I guess, or an attribute at a minimum of going through this with somebody when you're cohabitating with them and you're in a relationship, is that the individuals parallel what's happening in the collective, you know, but then the couples, because of the masculine feminine aspects within ourselves and within the other, kind of parallel what's happening too. It's kind of like a weather vane, you know. And I don't know about you guys, but I'd say from about the solstice maybe up through middle of last month, it was very, very illuminating, elevating, trying, a lot of processing, you know, a lot of solitude, and we were quiet a lot, you know, and you know, it was quite intense. How about for y'all?
Well, you know what? It's so funny because yes, there's definitely that intensity aspect of it, but simultaneously there's the ability to see what the intensity is doing. You know, whereas before it felt like you're like, there's this fear aspect of like, what's happening? Oh my God, we're gonna fall, we're gonna break apart, you know. And now it feels like there's a little bit more groundedness to the process. Yes. And the ability to trust that it is a process, because it's funny that we're a part of a community it's this beautiful, loving community. There is a lot of emphasis on demonstrating in the physical realm, whether it be through abundance, creativity, which is a huge yes. And we're in a process. We are clearing shadows. And I think sometimes the tendency to become impatient in the process, you know, can halt us a little bit from just allowing what wants to come, because we're like, when is it going to happen? you know, is it ever going to break loose? Are we ever going to get to the other side? And I think we're becoming more and more comfortable, which we can see in our dynamic with each other. We're more at ease with each other because we're trusting that things are unfolding exactly as they should. So we're not putting the pressure on each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting you asked that question. Thank you for presencing that timestamp, because, you know, we could see from solstice on to where we are today. You know, you said something that really impacted me in one of your, I think it was just a little walkabout you had, a little walkabout there, where you said the human is the fucking hero.
Yeah.
And I just went, fuck yes. You know, in my awakening journey that kind of began back in 2001, I've had cycles of, you know, I want out of here. I want out of this human experience. I don't want to be in the 3D. I don't want to be in this system. You know, I'm a big giant blue being inside this little body. Like I don't belong here. This is not my home. I want to go home.
Yeah.
Yes, and we are bringing heaven to earth. We're merging these dimensional realms. We're bringing this place. And so coming into the humanness, coming into the practical, you know, this has been the big word for us, Todd, lately. It's just, we shed so much just delusion and BS, spiritual BS, and just went, look, how can we bring this into the practical realm? And that is where, you know, in partnership, it's like, we know that the masculine energy in both of us is an initiator, is a go-getter, is a decider, is a form builder for her to fill the cup, to be that beautiful flow of divine, mysterious love inside both of us and inside this union. So what does that look like? It looks like practical love. It looks like practical magic. It looks like practical manifestation in the form of having all our needs taken care of with ease and grace, you know, and being able to go to the dentist if we need to go to the dentist, taking care of our good. It's good for us to be happy, you know, and when we're stressing out financially, you know, yeah, we can do mental hoops around and go, it doesn't matter. Money doesn't matter. And it's like, no, money does matter. Money is energy, you know.
It's the same love. It's love. Yeah.
So it's been a process from solstice on. You know, we've been in with one of our spiritual mentors called Mental Muscle, and we're really examining, and I've uncovered, brother, some really deep trauma around money that I've had to really deal with and go, I've had such a visceral fear of not having that I don't want to have it. You know, I don't want to lose it. And so coming into the clearing, because we understand we can back up everything to consciousness. What's our consciousness around relationship? What's our consciousness around money? What's our consciousness around death? What's, you know, and we're coming into really practical, we're letting go of archetypes, you know, letting go of just all those fanciful ideas of what we were in past lives, and just going, we're just Jason and Heather, man. We just want to.
It feels so good. We cut ties. Like it was really interesting. We had an experience of an event that we were involved with a couple of months back, and it was almost like a shifting point for us, that it was almost like the veils of illusion that we had been kind of dancing with for a while just like literally became so glaringly obvious. And we had to just kind of say, you know, these things need to just kind of take a back seat for a while we learn how to really ground our life in the most mundane, practical, and bring the beauty of what we're experiencing in the other realms into this realm, and not bypass and go, you know, oh, well, another money system's coming and all that. Well, that's great. But right now we're here to have mastery in this one, and not be ruled by it or have any fear around it, but move powerfully and freely in this realm so that we can help from within the system. Until the rest of it shifts. You know?
Because you know, it's all about transformation, you know, and even if you look at the any template, you know, any particular template, and there's many templates that are part of the ascension process. We'll just take the Sacred Union template. And so it's like we had, you know, certain things were certain levels, certain, you know, thresholds of experience were in place or given when we came into these incarnations or this incarnation, whatever and it's like we're expanding them, and in a really powerful way that leads us back to where we start, which is, we woke up and I'm Todd, and you're Heather, you're Jason, and then we start to find out more and all that. But it's like you said, it's these three, what we might call 3D actions, or the mundane. We just had Sharon Sudhar on, and she's a scientist,
Mm.
and she's of course tapped in, and it's all about with her DNA reprogramming. And so we were 5 minutes into the show, and she says, well, this is what it is. And she explained, she said, and there's other ways, but she said, you can talk to your DNA, but it's actually just like going for a walk in nature, meditation. Why? Because all that noise goes away, and you're aligned with the natural nature of all things, which is what you're a part of. And she goes, and it sounds like, you just want to go like, is that it? But that's what we've come to. It's like all this fantastic stuff out there. Hey, I can do this, or I don't have any money and I don't have a place to live, but I can do this and I can do that. And I'm serving the light, and I'm following my guidance, but you're forgetting about the human being, and she made the point, what human means. And I don't think I'd ever seen it, but I know people talk about it. It says hue means light, you light of man.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you, I don't usually like write down questions, but I had a few things I wanted
Wow. So
actually,
honored.
actually the producer at my
Love you, Morgan.
We say hello to Morgan.
at
This
my
is our
request,
first
yeah.
interview with just you,
I
because
know.
Heather
I
assumed
know. I
that
told her before. I said, "Are you going on with me in 20 minutes?" She goes, "Do I look like I am?"
We love
So-
you.
So, do you feel like you have universal assistance, and are you following specific instruction that you receive?
Great
beautiful
question. Yeah, it's a great question. You want to answer that first?
I breathe into that question
Yeah.
with such deep gratitude, because the answer is absolutely unequivocally yes.
Mhm.
Yes and yes. And right now what comes through is, we talked about the us, the me, the we, the multiplicity of the oneness, what I come to understand. There is only one of us here, and there's only one great source, God presence, call it what you want, but it is broken into fractals of light, that we have come to understand as different structures and different systems,
Angles.
as Chohans and lords of these rays, and the angelics and the Elohim and the guides and the different astral Buddhic, monadic planes of existence and esoteric science. Yes, there's multiple levels of assistance that we experience, and in such beautiful, magical ways that to see our life reflect that assistance on a day-to-day, every day. I mean, we drive part-time for Lyft, and we're out there just, seeing life reflect to us, whether it be, the names of streets. We actually live next to Medina Avenue, by the way.
It's
There
the
you
next
go.
street over.
It's just right next to us. So
What
you're
can I
right with us
say?
all the time.
We think of you seriously
Yeah,
all the
there's
time.
Todd.
There's no
So-
mistakes. There's no
None.
mistakes.
And so the assistance comes in so many, many, many really cool ways, that, we just ultimately, I think, we don't see, we haven't had beings come to us at the foot of our bed and say, I am here with you. Though we have Jesus, Yeshua is one of our big guides, our gurus on the inner planes.
We certainly have light beings.
We've had lights and
Yeah,
things, but it's not, we don't, we're not ones to go, there was this dragon that came into our room and said hello, and that's our truth. But we do have a dynamic relationship with our own presence that is so palpable and real and connected to all the dragons and the angels and the galactic beings and the star beings and beyond. And so we know we have that thread, but we just really have gotten to a place now to simplify it. It's the still small voice within that is our guidance and our presence and our guru.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was just telling Sharon this, well, in the context of the discussion, I was just saying, a few weeks ago, we were having some I'm gonna say, several different elevations within a short period of time, more than normal. And I told Morgan, I was like, Morgan, we're really going to start seeing stuff now, like, like physical, no translucence. And she said, I don't think so. And I said, why? She said, because we are that now. I mean,
Yes.
because we're actually embodying it, and others, many others. And, I mean, this is what happens. I mean, these were just aspects of ourselves. It was us just, talking to ourselves, and in the, in the, the rise and the ascension, the steps of the ascension. Now, do you guys, I mean, I think I kind of know the answer to this, but just like for people that are here that haven't been exposed to you, or people on the replay, do you have a joint mission, do you feel? Because a lot of couples talk about having a joint mission.
Great question. Thank you.
These are awesome questions. First, can I just touch back on the last one and kind of segue into this?
Yeah.
That's so interesting, because when I was driving the other day, I really had the thought that, and I remember hearing this not only from Ram Dass, but a couple other teachers, that as you really begin to embody the synchronicities, are less, they're less like, whoa, it's that there's just a flow. You're now in this flow state that you can feel it, but you're not in the astral magical realm anymore. You've kind of popped up above, where there's no delusion attached to it. And I think it's just such deep gratitude for there was a bust through point to just be like, wow, we are it. And the simplicity of calling it anything else and not calling it channeling or calling it Michael or anything, is that I am that I am, whatever that might be in the moment. And so that is our united mission. It is love, period, to demonstrate, to embody love, and to help others, to point others back to the love within themselves, because that will get them there the quickest. And I think that's why, the relationship path is maybe an accelerated path to that, because the farther you go and grow, you either break up because of the intensity of it, because you're seeing yourself mirrored so intensely, or you keep surrendering deeper and deeper and deeper. And love that's the truth of every moment. What would love do here? And that's the presence that we are lacking in the world, because we can't stop reacting. What's happening in the political realm, and just this health crisis, you can see this. It's almost like it's a boil that's coming to the surface to erupt, so that we can see, that where we are just completely in our reactive nature, and love is the only antidote for it.
Great answer.
I to piggyback on that, I heard one of my favorite authors, his name is John Randolph Price. He wrote a book, little green book, it's called The Abundance Book, and it's like 40 days of reshaping your consciousness around prosperity. But he was visited by his guide one time at the foot of his bed, and this presence, this angel to him said, if you would just love more, every sense of limitation would disappear. Now that's a simple, but a very profound statement for us as a collective. That if we would just love more, every sense of limitation would be gone. Because we would be in our oneness, we'll be in the unified field. There would be no without. Because we are in the pure, perfect love, we want to share, we want to give, we want to extend, we want to support. And so our mission simply is to increase the awareness of the presence of love within and around you. And that's it, to simplify it, just to and that we call God. I mean, God is real, whatever you want to call it, that power is real, and that power is love. And so to awaken the powers of love within humanity is simply our mission. And that's our collective mission. But I do want to presence, there is we are one, but we are also dancing as two. And, Heather's got an amazing, part of her unique emanation of what she is she's got a program called Singing Your Soul Awake, which I have been, you saw it in the beginning of the show. I had the joy and the honor of singing with this beauty and bringing chants in Sanskrit and bringing the satsang, the sangha together in community and singing. But she has been meeting with people and having breakthroughs where they're healing stuck trauma inside their energy centers by just singing these mantras together, who are not professional singers, but watching her liberate human beings and heal is a powerful mission that I see in my beloved. And I have a unique mission to help men get into their hearts. You know, I have a sacred circle of men, and we gather and we commune and we deal with our shadow shit. We're getting real. We're getting honest. You know, as I say, we take off our armor. We're not here to compete. We're not here to conquer. We're not here to condemn. We're not here to compare. We're not here to convert. We're here to connect in the true heart space where we each are one. And so bringing men into how do we integrate this feminine nature? How do we open our heart? How do we live from our heart, not from our lower head and our upper head, but how do we really live? So that's our individual missions, and then our united mission.
Yeah, that's powerful. And it's, and we, you know, we've been receiving stuff, and I guess it kind of you know, it's all connected. You know, so there's like, you get this and then you get that and then you get this. And one of the things that's been coming in has been exactly what you said. She verbalized it last night. I'd been getting it in a different way. And then like when she spoke it, I was like, oh yeah, that's what I've been getting, which was basically all, like you said it perfect too. It's like, you know, all this, like, you know, like I desire this, or I want this. It'd be nice to have this so I could do that, you know, and the normal thought patterns that we've had with the mind, you know, as we're trying to like navigate this, it kind of gets swiped away when you just focus on what you just said, you know, like looking at another person and loving that person. Looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I love you, man. I mean, you know, and really not just saying it, but actually bringing it up through your heart chakra, feeling it in your cellular, that when you do that, it just, you don't have to ask for anything. You don't have to like plan anything. You just have these things appear before you, you know, and that's what was in my head, was like, as it was leading up to it, I was like, wow, this is getting crazy. First of all, it's weird because I lay down now and I go, well, who am I talking to? I'm talking to me. and then the second part was like, okay, you know, which is what just happened. What I was explaining was like, I was going, well, I don't even have to say what I want, you know, because the universe, God knows what I want. And I may not be conscious of it in my human aspect, you know, or I may, you know, have doubt, or, you know, is it all there? Do I need to say more? Do I need to do more? But yeah, so there's something about aligning further with love, which is all there is in every moment, that creates what we've been many of the things we've been chasing, you know, like manifestation, abundance, and all that.
Right.
You know what? It's so interesting. I think maybe part of our problem that we've been moving through is really learning to see that love has a lot more faces than we've been accustomed to acknowledging it to have, right? So just like in the Hindu traditions, there are many faces of both the goddess and the father god. And that doesn't mean they're separate. It just means there's all these different aspects. And one of those aspects, you know, in all the traditions is this idea of Kalima, or the destroyer aspect, Shiva, you know, where that is just as much the face of love as the creational aspect or the sustainer aspect. And when we only want the gifts of the first two and don't understand that certain things need to be destroyed in our constructed reality that will not allow us to pass to the next ring passive knot of our awareness, this is part of our trusting the process and not attaching to what it seems like it is in the moment, because the pain is what actually opens us up to receive more love. And it also is the greatest reflector to go soften into it, into it. Don't keep building the armor. And
it's funny you're saying this. So I'm holding these two little pieces in this conversation. This is obsidian. So, you know, just whatever needs to be released in the pure death of this crystal quartz, you know, skull, just bringing that, you know, we work a lot with that Shiva energy, especially we just came out of Mahashivaratri. You know, our path takes us along many paths, the Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, you know, don't really go down any Muslim energies.
Except for Rumi.
Rumis
And
are,
Hafiz.
it's more, yeah, it's
Sufis.
more, it's a
Yeah.
Sufi path, but our journey encompasses so many different aspects and the Shiva energy, and I appreciate your really presence in that. We talk about, Michael Beckwith said something that, you know, a marriage consists of a series of divorces.
Mm-hmm.
You know, divorcing that old parts of ourselves, divorcing the old habits, divorcing the set of beliefs that aren't serving us today. And I think that's something that we bring in this relationship, is that energy of like, you know what, this patterns of pride, the patterns of impurity, the patterns of lust or pornography or whatever's going on, you know, these need to be divorced, or we will divorce, you know. And I think, you know, a lot of times humanity, we want to come into that status quo. We want to come into this homeostasis, just don't bother me and I won't bother you. We're just in our little comfort zone. And, you know, and that can only maintain a little bit, because life is a natural death and rebirth. It's a natural reaction to, you know, in the evolution of evolution, the revolutions of evolution.
No, you're going to start rapping. I noticed that a while ago.
Be in the moment, be in the now. Here we go.
You mentioned with the men's group, and of course the question is not just restricted to that, but you mentioned about, you know, facing the shadows, you know, and of course the triggers and the projecting, which is another, you know, based on our old relationships, all of us. Obviously, that was very, I don't want to say they were all toxic, but there was a codependent frequency, because we weren't at the awareness that we are now. So I know that's a difference between that and the old relationships, but you know, it's been kind of a mix. I'd have to say with us, you know, there is some talking. It seems like now there seems to be more quiet time or alone time. Like we both know something's out there, and we just kind of sit with it, kind of, I guess, taking responsibility and not even allowing. Maybe that's why we might be in a separate room or a separate place and work through it. But I mean, have you guys figured out, or how do you deal with, you know, the stuff that comes in, whether it's his or hers or just the energy that's coming in? I mean, because that is a different aspect to these relationships, I think. Do you find that?
Yeah, you know, that's a great question, because I think we probably will agree on this. We witness that we do the best when we don't continue a conversation of trying to unravel it with our mind or our personalities. When we're able to have space, there seems to be a quicker ability to presence what really is going on, rather than trying to convince each other of one thing or another. And sometimes we do that better than others. But that definitely seems, and that's been actually the instruction that we've been given over and over again by, you know, different teachers, is, you know, that silence really allows you to take full responsibility without attaching to the shame aspect of it. Because I think, you know, I was reading something from Harville, or listening to Harville and Harville Hendricks and his Beloved. And they were talking about just the physiology of when a person on the other side of a complaint of any kind naturally has a flood of cortisol in the body. And so there's this reflex inside of us that we're literally physically feeling like fight or flight, and your mind wants to do something else, but your body has now been flooded with this feeling. And so you're hearing things different, you know, for you can't hear well. And it's hard to respond. So the precious silence, I think, you know, there's a gift there for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Do you guys, you know, do you have any routine, a specific routine or rituals that you do just to kind of stay grounded as a couple and individuals that you do together?
Sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's as simple as just working on resolving our bills, you know. I mean, as simple as that, just doing stuff together. But I think we definitely are are ones we teach this with our clients, like the basis of our union is our communion with spirit together. You know, a cord of 3 strands is not easily broken, the Bible says, where we come from. And that idea of the you, me, and the Trinity of spirit, you know, whatever we call that, but that communing together in, you know, we just this morning we actually were sitting on our bed, and we were actually, because I was feeling some physical, you know, you talked about this morning, tuning into your body. I was feeling some stuff in my body, and I was like, you know what, I've got this mantra. It's Om Shri Davantri Namaha. And Davantri is the great celestial healer in the Hindu tradition, and kind of the forebearer of Ayurveda, and just this energy. So Om Shri Danvantri Namaha. And so we're sitting and go, let's envelop the planet Earth. Let's bring Mama Gaia, because we're bringing the celestial healing energy to this coronavirus virus, right? And so bringing that energy to our individual and then to the collective. So bringing that and toning together and praying together.
We read a lot together as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, just being in nature, just there's so many different things that we're communing together, but it's not specifically religious. We do this thing every single day. But it's just
something.
It's an organic
lifestyle.
Yeah,
it's just lifestyle.
You're in communion with all of it. We love serving together. We love doing life together. I mean, we literally have twin cars.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose, but we literally have. We have Sonatas. We have Hyundai Sonatas. Both. Mine's a little darker, and it's got a little more tinted windows. Hers is lighter and more.
Everything is talking to us. Hers is more transparent. Well,
she actually has a more upgraded computer system in hers, so her system's a little upgraded. Mine's
well, is that not just you know?
But she's got more dents in hers right now. I will say that.
Well, they went through a little more hell, I think. You know,
that's
overall.
Right.
But no, that's interesting. It is apropos, but on that note, you know, of course, it was 4 or 5 years back, and you know, and that you start to see a lot of posts on the Divine Feminines landed, you know, Mama's home, and there was some kind of you know, intense expressions coming out from women, because I mean they collectively that power came in. There's no 2 ways about it. And then I don't know, I guess it was a year and a half, and within the last couple of years you started to see the men aspect coming up. But this year, as we got into the latter part of January, first part of February, a couple things seemed to be talked about by different people, primarily women, and it was one that the female body itself was seemingly going through a lot of releasing and transformation. A lot of women were talking about, even just up to the last couple of days, headaches and just different body ailments, and that they were doing so almost, to me, it felt like they were going to another level. And I don't know, something about the balance changed. I don't know, but do you feel in the last few weeks, has there been a shift in the powers? And of course we're always talking about the individual, but you know, of course we have a representation of masculine and feminine right in front of us. You know, that's part of this trip, is that we're actually manifesting the internal things that are happening. But have you felt anything like that over the last few weeks? Has your dynamics of the masculine and feminine energies within yourselves in together, has it changed, or have you felt anything like that?
That's a great question. The first thing that came to mind, it's so interesting. For a long time, I have really struggled with neck pain. I had neck surgery many years ago. And so I've noticed that especially since we started practicing Karetsa and just going kind of to another level of our own sacred sexual practice, there is like kind of this opening that's occurring in my neck, and there's a new pain that I've never had with it, but it also releases. It's almost like the energy, you know, because the energy is trying to come up. I've had, just this morning, I have had a really weird pain that I never had in my leg. And I was like, it's my right leg. Okay, it's masculine, the standing. But just, little things. And I think that the ability to tune into the body more is really, really heightened. But I just notice as a woman, and I would love to just give gratitude. I know Morgan has connected to Nicole Gale on a lot of the stuff. I think you either had her or you're going to have her maybe as a conversation. But this idea of as a woman really being in full out surrender to the King of Kings consciousness within herself, so that it begins to be reflected. Because I think that DNA of that programming that we have of that frustration and retaliation to the masculine energy for such a long period of time, we're working to clear that physically. And I noticed a big shift when I began to really go back to Father God in a fresh way, and how that opened up my business started to open up, being able to presence more. And I'm still a work in progress, but to presence more of where Jason has had to shoulder a lot of this responsibility as a man, and feeling his own feelings of the feminine rising within him, but to be able to understand that the masculine better. But yeah, there's definitely, it feels like the shifts are so frequent now. But yeah, definitely. But you've been experiencing a lot of body stuff.
Yeah, it's mostly diet stuff though. I gotta clean up my diet. I gotta eat better, eat more like
cheeseburgers, Tommy burgers, burgers.
Holy cheese.
I mean, I'm a freaking man. I'm free to eat whatever I choose, and I bless it all. And I do create a very gratitude field of what I consume and with consciousness. But yeah, it's I mean, I don't know. It's touching on like, this, you mentioned the voice of she rising, and it's like, I grew up as a man, Todd, just not understanding the oppression against women, and knew that I was carrying a, call it codes, keys, beliefs, whatever it was, of equanimity, of no longer the temple of the goddess, and no more the temple of the god, but the temple of union, divine union, where the king and the queen sit in sovereignty on both of our hearts, individually and in union, and where we are flying. We got married on the top of a mountain in Peru, literally where the eagle and the condor fly wingtip to wingtip. And this is the prophecy of when peace is restored on planet Earth, is when the two become one. And so that is part of our journey. And I'm all for supporting my beloved and watching her rise and staying, I've actually taken a path lately. My freedom, Todd, it's just a presence this as a man. And I'm not just the beta man. I'm not just a man just to be quiet and just go let her rise. I'm a leader in my own right. And I have been. I'm the oldest of all the cousins. I'm the oldest son. I mean, I've just been that. And so that's how I'm created and formed in this lifetime. But I'm to do it in partnership, and to not be a tyrant, not be a lord over her, not oppress her, but to be the lifter. And so that I'm okay fading into the background and watching her rise as she is, because Heather, man, when she comes up, I mean, she is a radiant being. When she gets on that stage and people they flock to her, and I'm okay, but in union, it's like, don't step on me and expect me to be the provider at all times. There's a masculine that's rising, that's important. And so that we lead, we co-create, because we're holding the blueprint where we are individually sovereign and collectively sovereign, and that we're out there and are doing it. And so it's been a dance, and huge shifts. And this 2020 it's all about balance. We're restoring this balance and this partnership together in greater ways, in practical ways. And like I told her, like I am so sensitive. I've got so much feminine energy. I've had to make peace with my own masculine energy, Todd. I've had to make peace with that just in this male form, because I've got abusive fathers. I got abusive in this timeline of men I did not appreciate. I did not respect as men in my life. And I saw men, patriarchy, abusing our planet And I didn't like being a man.
Yeah.
But I'm not, you know, I knew I wasn't gay. I knew I loved women. How do I, you know, and so not only are the women integrating this, but there are men like myself who are going, be a man, grow some balls, you know?
Yeah. Yes. And vice versa.
Yeah.
Vice versa. You know, everything.
Yeah.
I don't mean grow some balls for the women, but there's something. Well, you said something a second ago. So you were like, well, and let me just say this. I feel good listening to you because I feel the same way. It's like, I did lose my balls. You know, like I surrendered to the point where I'm like, I got nothing left. And we've talked about this. And then it starts coming back in. Like, you know, I even noticed it like in my work, you know, I got really soft, too soft, you know, too loud was before. And now it's kind of like finding the middle. And it's not going right to the middle. It's like fluctuates like
Sure.
this,
Yeah.
right?
Totally.
But just the fact that I'm comfortable with having given up everything that I thought was a man, and I'm comfortable with not knowing with the unknown that lies before me, because I know that the masculine part of it, and really all of it, but the masculine part of it, the manhood, the energetic, you know, king or whatever you want to call it, is coming back in. And I don't know what it looks like, but I get little snippets of it, and it's orgasmic. I mean, it's like, whoa, this is going to be
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
And then you said something else. Oh, and the other thing too was where you said, because this is equanimity. So it's like there are these traditional roles that we've come out of. Yes, she's rising. I'm taking a back seat, you know, and it seems temporary, but until we can find our footing, you know. And then and part of that recipe is that I don't have to carry the whole load that I used to carry. I don't have to do all the traditional things. I might do the majority of them, but I can't be expected to do them all the time, just like she can't be expected to do. And of course, I'm talking energy, you know, so it could be a lot of things in the physical experience. It could be she always cooks, or she always does the dishes, or he always does the bills, or he always, you know, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I can see going full circle back to what you've been talking about in terms of implementing at the human is the hero level. That's why the human is the hero, because it's these mundane, seemingly, you know, non-fantastical things that actually activate and catalyze us in the physical flesh to the level of the archangels and angels and galactic and everything that has been that is part of our makeup, that's been speaking to us, not because it's got something for us, but because it's within ourselves, you know, it's actually within ourselves. But yeah, so yeah, I totally resonate with that stuff. You know, I can't let you go on this one. So sacred sexuality is is a new frontier. It's obviously a new frontier. And I can only say, as a couple, it's like we're comfortable with going into the unknown, because we really don't know what it is. We just know it's much bigger than anything we could ever imagine. Because again, you get snippets here and there, and you sustain it longer and so on. But what I wanted to ask you about that is, you know, just to kind of give people, because there's a lot of interest, as you know, in people that are in relationships, and the frequencies and the variations that they're experiencing together, and then trying to explain that to people, you know, in the old terms. That's not an easy thing to do for any of the information that any of us get in about anything. But what are the differences, just, you know, in general, between old relationships and in terms of intimacy and this relationship, and and what attributes, you know, do you have, or consequences, or effects that you have from sacred sexual intimacy, that frequency, which we know can be many, many things. What kind of things are gained from it, you know? What I mean by that is, is it a gateway to further insight, or further types of experiences, or higher sensory abilities? I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a
100%.
lot. That's a lot in that questions. So Yeah.
This is one of our favorite topics right now, because I think undeniably, this is probably where we began to see the most accelerated shift in our dynamic between us than we have ever seen. And it was a big jump because I think, you know, Gene Key 55 is all about fear, you know, going from fear to freedom and really coming into the new, we call it Adam, Lilith, Cadmon, or the new man and woman that don't have the root of fear in sexual union, and we're not driven by the lower desires, right? And so bringing all that up, because it's in our body, it's in our patterning, it's we began working with, I think we shared it last time, but Karetsa, which is a practice of not orgasming physically, and beyond, we kind of have actually gone beyond that particular practice, but to really come into deeper physical communion as souls, where our souls our bodies are experiencing the connection, but there is so much more happening. And I know you guys are, you know, absolutely traveling in this space as well. The peace between us, the discord, the, you know, the feeling of separation, I think our telepathic connection, our ability to just stay in that place of our oneness has increased. It's deepened. We've both softened as a result of it. We, you know, and it's so sweet because, like, I mean, obviously orgasms are amazing, and then the energy just dies.
Right.
There's something that just leaves, and it's almost like a break in the communion. And so that place where that sacredness, you could just continue to feel it expanding, is so precious. It's changed a lot for us both. I think you can expound on where
do I expound?
there's so many directions.
No, I get it. It's like an ongoing foreplay in perpetuity. It's like a higher level flirting almost. It's like and it's I've noticed it's very innocent.
Yes.
Like I told Morgan just a while ago, I said, you know, it took a long time to deprogram lust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, because it wasn't just the porn and this and that and this and that. You know, I got it just like say in the last month, you know, as we all go in to ourselves, and it was just basically saying to me, it's at any moment. Like if you snap into that at any moment, even if it's not as, you know, inflammatory or enhanced as the old days, but if you start to go down that path, it kills it. And I think that you didn't bring it up last time, but that's interesting. Just the conscious effort not to orgasm, I can see how that sustains and expands the sacred sexual power in an individual, in between a couple. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, there's it's there in the physiology of us. You know, there's they call it the passion cycle. You have 21 days. You know, from the moment you release, you find that we're actually genetically created to push our partners away and go procreate with another to populate the planet. That's how we're genetically. So there's against nature that we're kind of doing here by going, you know, no, we're not going to have a goal here. We're not here to reach this climactic explosion. We're here to bond and commune. And, you know, I remember when we first started this and going, you mean I'm never going to have an orgasm again? Like, what? No. You know, like, when can we have it now? Can we do it you know, but this time, you know, and we love our life, our intimacy is a big part of our joy and communion, and we know it's our prayer language as well.
Totally.
And we're grateful to come into this awareness. It's an ancient practice. It's really an ancient practice, and it's really it's still in its process. So we love having this conversation with you, Todd, because it's where we are at today. Is we're seeing how is that mapping out in our life? What's happening? I mean, her program, her work is now expanding. You know, my work with men is expanding, and we're expanding. We've got many like little manifestations of people going, I want you to, you know, on my radio show, I want to do this thing with you. There's like all these co-creative fields. So our radiant sphere is very magnetic and very radiant because it's alive with this energy that's right in our, you know, our body temples, you know, so we're not just leaking out this energy.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
so
exactly.
and into the supernal power, you know, that super consciousness, we're accessing it. Our antennas are really fine-tuned. You know, the discernment level is getting, you know, as Heather mentioned earlier, we're pushed past the astral fun and games. You know, we're not lost in the illusion, the Maha Maya of spiritual glamour. You know, there's a simplicity, but yeah, it's continuing to expand. So, you know, cycle back next year, we'll see where we're at with this, but it's definitely, you know, bringing purity into our lovemaking.
I can relate again. I can relate.
Right? And downloads.
No,
you said downloads, like that it feels like each time we make love, there are messages just pouring in that are like rewriting the way things have been and just understanding. And I just thought soul communion is like, it's hard to, well, you don't have to describe
and it's the whole thing about the surrendering everything we knew, right? Like it's just like, will it come back? I don't know, but something's coming. That's and in the intimacy, and we found too, like when there were the physicality was involved in that looks similar to the old where we all came from, that there was such a huge download of information and experiences that it would like take weeks. It's like we wouldn't even go there again, because by hook or crook, you know what I mean? It would just be like, this isn't going to happen. And I realized later that, you know, we both did. It's like, oh, this takes a while, you know, because one of these experiences can be like equivalent to, you know, a daily routine, like in the old way for 6 or 8 weeks, you know. I mean, these things last forever. And I think to your point earlier about the orgasm, whether you're following a particular discipline or not, makes a lot of sense. Jenny Smith, who has all the great quotes, the greatest quotes of anyone that ever watches these shows, she says, a third of male nutrition goes into sperm production per day. Learn to save seed or you will always feel spent. Devin Fredrickson.
Yep. And,
perfect.
And
well said.
You'll also you know, I guess part of, you know, back to the mission that we all have, it is bringing what love is, at least in partnership, back to the purity and the intention of what it was in the garden. And, you know, we have so many entanglements, both male and female entanglements.
Absolutely.
Through the programming that we've succumbed to regarding our sexual energy. And women are just as responsible and culpable for this, because we've bought into saying, yes, that's where I derive my value from. And it's gotten tangled up in the spiritual circles, you know, where there's this sexy, you know, goddess thing that I don't think is helpful for the relations between men and women, or women and women, because now we're in a field of distrust, because there's just leaky energy, and it was never meant to be like that. And I think, you know, the more innocence that we have in our experience, the more life expands, because we are in trust of each other, body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah. And I think the linear, another thing for me too is like the when is gone. Like, it's like, you know, and even on other aspects, you know, whether it be creating Soulogy or expanding Soulogy or whatever the situation is, like I don't feel that anymore. I don't feel pressure to perform. I don't feel timelines. I don't feel the old program. And this I'm really stepping into very recently. And the innocence thing is like so cool. I mean, like I'm like, whoa, like I feel things in my body, and I'll just be frank, you know, in my genitalia, I'll feel things, and I've never felt this. And it can just be me walking up to her and put my arms around her and, you know, maybe kiss her neck, or maybe I, you know, and it's just like, what's happening down there? You know, like what's going on with that? You know, it's not anything
Mhm.
like, and it feels very uh very much like the chi, you know, like the kundalini energy, but
Mhm.
it's doing things I've never really experienced before. I haven't.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So
Well, we've been
good.
entrusted with this energy, you know. I mean,
Hmm.
there's great power, and we often say in
Yeah.
our journey, you know, bringing purity to our intimacy, bringing pure love,
Yeah.
not with an agenda, not with manipulation, not with barter and exchange, not with,
Mhm.
you know, I'll give you sex if you do this for me. You
Mhm.
know, this is like pure connection, pure communion, and that
Mhm.
purity, that purity, not puritan, but purity, pure love is our peace. It's our power. It's our protection. We don't have to
Yeah.
look over our shoulders and
Yep.
shield from the energetics and the archonic interference. We do our best to create a very pure, loving sphere. And however,
Yeah.
and we do better on certain days. But if we
Yeah.
get off beam on that, man, we move as quick as we can to coming into, you know,
Mhm.
to that pure field, which requires integrity, honesty, transparency,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know, not hiding behind our shadows, not hiding behind our masks of shame and guilt,
Mhm.
but coming naked in the garden, you know, that's
Yeah.
really what, you know, we're
Exactly.
here to restore Eden, man. And the Edenic, and what that just means is just pure connection to God presence, to each other, and be in play, man, because
Yeah.
this spiritual quest we're on, this mission, you know, can be heavy. And it's like, I have to remind myself, man, I gotta play. You
Yeah.
know, I've got you know, I'm a founder of 3 different improv troupes in Los Angeles. I spent 5 years of my life creating from nothing and playing with characters and things. And I
Mm.
love to play and dance and sing. And that playfulness
Yeah.
is infectious. And we in these spiritual communities, you know, our dear brother, Chief Daniel Ramos, would say, you know, we as a humanity need to sing more, we need to dance more, and we need to tell great stories more. And um, let go of the seriousness of this mission sometimes.
I like that. I like that that improv component. You know, I went to a little gathering about a month ago at Solterra Spiritual Center in over here where we're at, and they had what they call cosmic improv. And I said, "What is that?" They go, "Well, we've never done it before. We don't know." So, but we got in a big circle, and people started playing drums, and then they passed the mic from one person to another, and so the experience was, because it all kind of comes from that core. To me, the
Mhm.
core, that core of intimacy, like we're finding. So there's one thing about being transparent. It's one thing to be transparent, but it's another thing to be transparent and feel safe, you
Mhm.
know? And that to me is what I'm feeling. I think of their movie that Tom Hanks made years ago called Big.
Big.
Do you remember that movie? So
Yeah.
for those of you who don't know, he makes a wish and he becomes a little boy. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He was a little boy and he becomes a grown man who's really a
Mhm.
kid
Yeah.
who just happens to now be in the 30-year-old man's body. And so there's that scene where he meets the girl, they go to his house, and they're going to be intimate. And so she's about to unsnap her bra and she flips off the light and then he flips it back on like a little kid. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
he flips it back on because he wants to see. That's
Yeah.
how I feel. That's how I
Yeah.
feel. That
Yeah.
scene in that movie
Yes.
is how I feel. And that's no BS. I mean, that's actually how I feel. I was
Yeah.
laying down the other night and I laid in bed and she wasn't in bed yet. And I thought to myself, God, all those years I would get in bed and the first thing on my mind was, am I getting laid tonight? Or what do I need to do to get laid? Even though it wasn't that
Yeah.
conscious or malicious sounding, but the fact was the program was running, and that was it. Or am I
Yeah.
getting laid tonight? If I'm not, then what am I going to do? Get up out of bed, go outside, play the guitar, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I thought to myself, wow, it's not there anymore. Like
Mm,
this is really cool to be able just to,
mm,
you know what I mean? So
mm-hmm.
it's all fresh and new, and it's
Yes.
it's a
Yeah.
powerful thing.
It's new paradigm,
So
you know. I
good.
mean, we call it evolutionary love, you know, that this is This is a new way of integrating and being with each other. And this is how we restore peace between the sexes. You know, this is how we free ourselves up from the guilt and the shame programs that have been running, whether we got shadows and skeletons in our closet regarding sexual distortions, you know, and that's a big Titanic to turn. But as you often say, as one goes, the collective goes. As one union goes, the collective goes.
That's right.
And we just honor what you and Morgan are doing together in your co-creatorship of Soulogy, and how you know, Morgan's behind the scenes, but she's a powerhouse in everything that she does. And we honor her in this quadrant, you know, the invisible dynamic goddess, Morgan.
Thank you. And the same here. Big ass dittos, big ass love. And we'll probably see you later this year, you know, and we'd love to collaborate again. Maybe we can talk her into coming on next time, but we'd love to collaborate throughout the year and just get updates, because I think it's very important, you know, for people to be exposed to the frequencies, not even so much the words, but I think just people being exposed to the frequency. I'm not saying it always has to be a couple. We know it doesn't. Look at Alma, you know, or look at the Dalai Lama, but there's something to be said for what's going on. And it's one aspect of the program, I guess, or of the, you know, of the initiative that we call Ascension. So big props to you guys. And I hope to see you. I think we're going to be back west. Looks like maybe May, June, July, in that time frame.
Yeah, well, we definitely want to get together when you're here. It would be really, really good.
I'd love to have, absolutely. Yeah. So you guys, best of luck to you all. You guys got anything coming up? Anything you want to announce? Anything you want to expand awareness of?
Oh, thank you. We have a few things. I mean, we have a couple local things that are here. If anybody's in the you know, the greater Los Angeles area, we have this beautiful offering that we're excited we're going to be doing monthly, and one of them is this weekend, called Sounds of the Beloved, and it's kind of just this alchemical marriage between sound healing and mantra and vocal improvisation, but it's in a salt cave. So people come in and they're in this Himalayan salt room, which just is very purifying and such a loving environment. We're really, really excited about doing that. And share
a lot of things local. We're part of a group called Welcome Home. It's experiential philosophy, where people in the LA area come and take some classes and workshops, and that's expanding, but that's all local. But I would say we would encourage people to go to thepowersoflove.com and subscribe, because we have a new program that we're excited to launch called From Eros to Agape, which is just going from human love to divine love, and how we marriage those and the patterns, and where we can elevate and ascend into a higher love. And that'll be an online 6-week program that we'll be taking people through probably springtime. So
right on.
Yeah.
The powersoflove.com.
Thepowersoflove.com.
Powersoflove.com. Yeah. Thepowersoflove.com. Very cool. Well, I'll see you sooner than later. And
all right, Todd.
Thank you so much. Love you guys too. Look forward to seeing you again and collaborating again.
And we'll wave at you as we're surfing the rainbow wave. We'll wave over to you.
Yeah. Hang 10, man. Hang 10.
Yeah, brother. All right.
All right. Peace out.